variously a cave, a fire station, and an enemy camp. His mother called him back, but Jaden ignored her. Maybe it was the heat making everyone so fractious, Joe thought. Not that Valentin Nasenko ever had much patience with his stepson. It was little wonder the boy missed life with his grandparents. Joe drained his glass of water, tipping the remnants of several ice cubes into his mouth. As he stood up, his chair scraped on the stone, and he almost expected another tirade from above. When Valentin was preoccupied with something, he demanded absolute peace and quiet. And what Valentin Nasenko wanted. Joe had been working for the Nasenkos for just over 9 months. He'd met them the previous September, on the Greek island of Naxos. Having concluded a summer-long stint as a deckhand on a chartered yacht, he'd picked up some casual bar work in Naxos town. Valentin's principal advisor, Gary McWhirter, had been in the bar when a fight broke out between rival football fans during a televised Champions League game. Impressed by Joe's adroit handling of the mini riot that ensued, McWhirter had invited Joe to meet Nasenko. One of his security team had resigned at short notice, and Valentin wanted an extra body to watch over his wife and newborn daughter during a 3-week cruise around the Aegean. At first, Joe had been reluctant. The thought of babysitting a young mother and her child didn't hold much appeal. But inevitably the money on offer made the decision for him. 1,000 euros a week, available in cash if he wanted it. Cassie Nasenko had seemed equally unhappy with the arrangement. She rarely made eye contact with Joe and was constantly ill at ease in his company. The situation didn't improve when Joe overheard her singing some cheesy ballad and quipped that, with a bit more practice, she could make a decent karaoke singer. He later discovered that at the age of 17, Cassie had reached the final stages of a TV talent competition and had gone on to enjoy a brief career as a pop singer. It wasn't until the 3rd week that she grew accustomed to his presence, and he came to see that what he'd perceived as arrogance was actually shyness. She was from an ordinary lower-middle-class background very similar to his own, and she was still coming to terms with the idea of having staff at her beck and call. When the cruise ended, it was Cassie rather than Valentin who suggested that Joe should stay on the team. Joe suspected it was largely because of Jaden, Cassie's son from a short-lived relationship with an actor in a TV soap. Jaden was often quiet and withdrawn, but Joe seemed to have struck up a rapport with him in a way that few others had. Returning to the UK posed another dilemma. In many ways he was in no hurry to go back, and yet he couldn't deny his fascination with the idea. It was there, constantly in his dreams, when the past could be effortlessly unrolled and reworked. Joe had often agonized over the if and how and when of his return, always careful not to dwell on the resultant question, what then? The answer, as it turned out, was simple. Just go to work and get through the day. Go to work and never think about where you might be instead. Joe descended the 6 steps from the terrace. The middle section of the garden was effectively a large playpen, a neat square of lawn fenced off for safety from the swimming pool and the jetty beyond. It was littered with trikes and footballs, and Jaden's current favourite diversion, a giant game of Connect 4 that was taller than he was. Cassie Nasenko was sitting on a picnic blanket, staring pensively in the direction of Jaden's hideaway. Next to her, 10-month-old Sophia was stripped to her nappy and lay fast asleep beneath a large parasol, her pudgy white limbs contrasting with her mother's deep tan. Cassie was a small, slight woman with an almost boyish figure, narrow hips, bony shoulders, and thin arms. At first glance you could mistake her for a teenager, rather than a woman of 25, a wife and mother of 2 children. Throughout the present heat wave, unseasonable even for June, she'd maintained a